I think we have accidentally taught an entire generation that being uncomfortable is the same thing as being in danger. And I don't think most people have noticed it happening. We use the word safe now for things that are not remotely unsafe. Someone said a word we didn't like. Someone disagreed with us. Someone made us feel something we'd rather not feel, and we call that unsafe. Here's the problem with that. Once you believe the world is dangerous, you stop going into it. You stay in the tower, and the wild thing is, after a while, nobody even has to lock the door anymore. You'll guard it yourself. That's what our show Rapunzel is about. But this video is not just about the show we made. It's about the towers we build inside. And I also want to talk about how we got there, because the process of building it taught me more about how people actually change than almost anything else I've done in 23 years. Hi, I'm Ben, and I'm the creator and founder of Alpha Shows, which has been making life-changing shows since 2003. So the way this started was pretty unglamorous. We were on tour with King Arthur, I was Merlin, and I'm in the van with the cast. We're driving between schools, and we're doing what we always do on tour, which is talking about what we should make next. And we're not sitting there going, what's commercially viable? We're going, what do people actually need right now? Because we're in front of thousands of people, mostly children, every single week. We see it. We can feel the room, and it's a huge responsibility as well. And what we were seeing, and have seen for years, exacerbated by COVID, but only highlighting something that was simmering underneath for years, was that so many still choose fear, still allow fear to run their lives. Scared of stuff we probably don't need to be scared of. Not of anything specific, just a low hum of the world is a bit much and I might be safer at home. Kids not coming to school. Kids not putting their hand up. Kids addicted to screens and only feeling safe inside a virtual world. Kids apologizing for existing at full volume. And somebody said, Rapunzel. And I got that thing, you know the thing? The goosebumps on your arms, the little tingle up the back of your neck that tells you before your brain does. Because Rapunzel is not a story about long hair. Rapunzel is a story about a girl who was told the world would destroy her and believed it. That's the show. That was there from the first minute. Here's the first big decision we made, and everything else came from it. The tower is not a tower. The tower is every belief you were handed before you were old enough to argue with it. The rules, the warnings, the people like us don't do that. The don't get your hopes up. The you're too sensitive. Nobody sits you down and installs those. They just get repeated near you often enough that they stop sounding like opinions and start sounding like facts about who you are. And by the time our Rapunzel is 18, Mother Gothel doesn't need to lock her in anymore. Rapunzel does it. She's the guard now. That's the most effective prison there is. And almost every adult watching this is standing in one right now and calling it just being realistic. It's the old story about the circus elephant who was chained from a baby and now doesn't even need the chain to choose to stay in her cage. So the question we keep asking ourselves through the whole writing process was, what's your tower? Because everyone's got one, and most people would fight that the tower's walls are load-bearing, like a belief. Every belief requires walls, and we choose the ones that stay upright. The second thing we locked in was the wound. Every good story needs the character to have absorbed a lie about themselves. And for Rapunzel, we went with the most common one I've ever encountered in children and honestly in adults. You are too much, too loud, too sensitive, too emotional, too intense, too curious, too much. And here's what makes that one so poignant, so destructive. It almost never comes from cruelty. It comes from people who love you. It comes from an adult who genuinely cannot hold the size of what you're feeling. And so they ask you, very gently to turn it down. And you do, because you're a child and you want to be loved. And you learn right there that connection is conditional on being smaller than you actually are. Rapunzel opens the show singing about that. The song is literally called Too Much. And it's so much more powerful than whatever she sings about in the other version of the story we became familiar with at the movies. And the line that the whole show hangs on is when she works out that if she's too much and the world's too much, then maybe the world is actually just right for her. You can listen to the song on Spotify, by the way. Now, she doesn't fix the problem by shrinking. She works out the problem was never real, like all fear, false expectations appearing real. She was never too much. She was just in a room too small for her. That is the difference between changing yourself and changing your environment, and I don't think society teaches that to anybody. Now, here's where we made the decision that I think makes this show genuinely different. Mother Gothel is not evil, even though she presents as such to the audience, so they associate the beliefs she has as being out of harmony with living. After all, evil spelled backwards is just live. But yeah, we had the option. It's an alpha show. Our audiences are used to big villains. We tour schools a lot, so nobody would have complained if we'd made her only cackle and rub her hands together with glee. But even when she does, there's more going on because the real version is so much more useful. Gothel believes every single word she says, just like us. She thinks she's protecting Rapunzel. Every restriction is framed as love. Every limitation is framed as care. She doesn't say, stay in the tower because I need you. She says, stay in the tower because the world will hurt you. And she means it. That's how control actually works in real life. Not through obvious villainy, through the constant, soft, well-intentioned message that the world is too dangerous for you to face on your own. And you should be grateful someone else is willing to face it for you. This is what we've been through ourselves. We've experienced this. There's a line in the show from Helios, and it's the philosophical center of the entire thing. Safe is what systems say when they mean controlled. Sit with that one for a second. Because once you hear it, you'll start noticing it everywhere. In workplaces, in relationships, in government, in parenting, in your own head. I've always said theatre is a genuinely safe place to explore what isn't. It's the one environment where a child can sit with fear, betrayal, injustice, loss, and come out the other side of it in 90 minutes with their nervous system intact. That's not a small thing. That's rehearsal for being alive. And it matters most when they're young because that brain is still laying down foundational beliefs, still deciding what kind of place the world is. Every story a child absorbs is quietly answering the question, is it safe to be me out there? And whatever answer we give them, they'll build on top of it for the next 50 years. 23 years ago, when we started this, we honestly weren't sure what impact we were having. You'd finish a show, pack the band, drive to the next school, and hope something landed. But now we know, because I hear the same thing over and over from adults in their 20s who come up to me and say, Alpha Shows was the thing they look forward to every single year. That, out of everything from primary school, that's what they remember. Not the assemblies, not the excursions, the story. The character who learned something, the moment where something in them shifted and they didn't have language for it yet. That's when you realize a good story doesn't just entertain a child for an hour, it goes in and it stays. So when we overemphasize safety, we're not protecting them. We're answering that question with a no. We're teaching a developing child that the world is fundamentally dangerous and the smart move is to stay hidden from it. And they believe us because we're the adults and they're wired to. But if instead we use story to show them what resilience actually looks like, if we let them watch someone face the hard thing and survive it and come out bigger, then we're answering the question completely differently. We're saying, yes, it's difficult, and yes, you can handle it. That's the whole message. That's the finale song in Alpha Shows. That's why we have them say yes throughout the show, and in the final song, literally called Fly Away, Say Yes. Because here's what's at stake. A society raised on protection produces people who need managing. A society raised on resilience produces people who can't be controlled by anyone who tells them the world is too dangerous to walk into. It creates empowerment. And I know which one I'd rather be building. Protection that prevents growth isn't protection. It's a very beautifully decorated cage. Okay, so this is one of my favorite bits of the whole show structurally. Everybody in Rapunzel's world believes her power is in her hair. She believes it. Gothel believes it. It's the thing that has to be protected, managed, controlled. And then Gothel cuts it off. And nothing happens. Because the power was never in the hair. The hair was just an agreed upon location where everybody decided to store her worth so that it could be threatened and managed and taken. And I want you to really hear this, because this is not just a children's lesson. This is the whole game. Wherever you locate your power outside yourself, that is the thing that will be used to control you. If your worth lives in your appearance, it can be taken. If it lives in your job title, it can be taken. If it lives in your follower count, your marks, your income, whether a particular person approves of you, all of it can be taken. And every single one of those is a handle on you that somebody else can grab. The moment Rapunzel realizes during a song called The Transformation that it wasn't the hair, it wasn't the tower, it's something she is, she becomes genuinely free. Not because she's suddenly stronger, but because there's nothing left to take. Now, I'll go one level deeper because we did, and I think this is the part people don't expect from a show that mainly tours schools. In our version, Rapunzel carries what we call alpha energy. It's a high frequency that runs up her spine and out through her hair. That's not a random fantasy invention. That's Kundalini. That's the same energy described in basically every serious contemplative tradition on the planet. Energy that rises up the spine, and when it's allowed to move, produces clarity, creativity, and courage. And when it's blocked or suppressed, produces fear, anger, and destruction. This isn't woo-woo, it's real. And that's the show's actual mechanic. Rapunzel isn't dangerous. Rapunzel is dangerous when suppressed. Helios, who's the mentor, is a caterpillar who becomes a butterfly. And we chose that deliberately because the metaphor is more precise than people realize. A caterpillar doesn't grow wings, it dissolves. It goes into the dark and it comes apart almost entirely before it reorganizes itself into something new. And the struggle to get out of the cocoon is literally what makes the wings strong. If you help it, it can't fly away, which is exactly what we get wrong in our culture. We treat the stillness and the dark and the struggle as failure. If you're not visibly winning, something's gone wrong. And the truth is that transformation only ever happens in the part that looks like nothing's happening. And there's this deliberate structure in the show between the two songs. There's a song called Open Your Eyes, which is about waking up to the outside world to experience joy, to actually live. And then there's the moment we call a closed eye, which is going inward, into the stillness, to remember what's underneath everything you've been told. You need both. Most of modern life is engineered to keep your eyes open and never let you close them. And you cannot find something that's inside you by looking harder at what's outside you. I want to name one more thing because it's the biggest idea in the show and it's the one I think about the most. There's a pattern that repeats through human history, and it's genuinely haunting once you see it. Someone arrives who is brighter, more awake, more truthful, and instead of being celebrated, they get contained or discredited or destroyed. Socrates got executed by Athens for teaching young people to think. Joan of Arc got burned by the institutions she served. Galileo got silenced for being right too early. Prometheus brought fire and got chained to a rock for eternity for it. Jesus. And it's almost never monsters who do it. It's ordinary, frightened people following ordinary logic, protecting ordinary order. And the reason it keeps happening is this, and I continue to see it done to people today. A genuinely bright person doesn't threaten you with danger. They threaten you with an invitation. They stand there being fully themselves, and you suddenly see every place you've agreed to be less than who you are. And it is so much easier to dim that person than to accept the invitation. It's much easier to choose envy or rage or gaslighting than to be inspired and grow by the connection. That's why at the end of the show, we let a free-forming sequence take place. Random children who choose it to literally come on stage and speak one-on-one with Rapunzel. Because when they are in this receptive state, lifelong change can be created. It's this connection that heals. But yes, Gothel cuts Rapunzel's hair, not because Rapunzel did anything wrong. She cuts it because Rapunzel's freedom exposes the smallness of Gothel's entire life. So the question the show quietly asks is, which one are you? Because we've all been on both sides of that. We've all felt the flicker of wanting to take someone down a peg because their brightness made us uncomfortable. And the answer we discover, the thing that the whole show is built to deliver, is that we're supposed to stop crucifying our light bringers. And more than that, we're meant to become one. So let me make this practical, because ideas without application are just entertainment. 3 things. 1, find your tower. Write down the 3 sentences about yourself that you accept as facts. The lies about yourself that we get the audience to swat away like flies during the close down. Things like, I'm not creative. I'm bad with money. I'm too much. Now ask who said it first, because I promise you it wasn't you. Someone handed you that, and you've been carrying it like it's yours. 2, find where you've stored your power. What's the thing that, if it disappeared tomorrow, would make you feel nothing? That's your hair. The metaphor of your hair. That's the handle. And the work is not protecting it harder. The work is realizing your worth was never in there. And 3, get honest about the difference between danger and discomfort. Danger is real, and you should respect it. Learn discernment and withdraw yourself from those that are genuinely seeking to harm you. Absolutely. But discomfort is the actual price you must pay for every single thing you say you want. And if you've been treating them as the same thing, you're not being careful, you're being contained. Look, I've been doing this 23 years, and I'll be honest with you. Sometimes I sit in the audience taking director notes on a show I just wrote, and it gets me. I'll actually well up, and I go, hang on, how is this doing this to me? I made it. And then I remember what went into it, that every single one of those beats was fought over, that we chose the hard version instead of the easy version every single time. The more difficult song to write, the more challenging storyline. We don't dumb it down because, yes, it's primarily for children, but the soul of a child is wise beyond anything we give it credit for, and they do not need another adult talking down to them or lecturing them. And you can't always measure this by asking a child after the show what they learned. Most of it isn't conscious. Even the child who tells you they didn't really enjoy it, that's not the question. The question is, what was the impact? Because your job as a teacher or as a parent is to create the experiences that crack something open, that let truth and love in. And if you look back honestly at your own childhood and ask how much of it actually did that, for most of us the answer is not very much at all. That's why this matters so much to me. That's why I'm talking about it. Because for a long time I didn't. And if I'm honest, the reason was that I found sales a bit tacky and I didn't want to be that guy. But somebody on my team pulled me up on that recently, and she said, what she said was completely right. If you've made something that genuinely changes people, hiding it isn't humility, it's just a different flavor of playing small. Which is ironically the exact thing the show is about. So that was a fun thing to notice about myself. So here it is. We tour Rapunzel across Australia. Original script, original songs, full production, like real theatre that comes to you. And every performance ends with a room full of children on their feet, reclaiming something they didn't know they'd given away. And it works in a school hall, and it would work in any theatre or any venue in any city in the world, because the thing it's actually about isn't age specific. Everybody's got a tower. If you want us in your school, the link's below. And if you're not a school and you just watched all of this, then take the 3 things and go do something uncomfortable this week. Your power was never in the hair. That's all I've got. Now go and stand tall about something.